All you, Aaron.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Haas Pod. Welcome to wrestling's greatest podcast. I'm Aaron Presley, joined always by the man of the hour, the king of the Haas Pod, the head of the Haas-holes, the leader of the Haas-hole Nation.
That's right.
Charlie Haas, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, man. I want to thank you. I know we are very busy at this time of the year. It is Christmas Day Eve, and we are trying to cram in this podcast. It's going to be a very special podcast because this is the first female that we are going to be able to interview on the Haas Pod, and it's a special one for us because we have a lady that is a second generation wrestler. She is starting in pro wrestling, but she is very well educated when it comes to grappling. She is competed in the Master Worlds, the American Nationals, the No-Gi Worlds, in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm excited about this because this is Jenni Santana. Go ahead, Aaron. What else do you want to add to that?
Man, what else can we add? We're going to let her talk a lot about it. You said a whole bunch right there. Second generation talent. We just watched her very first professional wrestling match at Christmas Star Wars in Irving the other night. Absolutely blown away. And our lady of the hour joining us right now, the lovely Jenni Santana. How you doing?
I am doing really well. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for, I know it's really busy right now. And thank you for taking time away from your family. And this means a lot to us. Like I said, you are the first female that we brought on. And this is such a great time for pro wrestling and for females. I mean, and for males as well. But I always say that the females are saving the sport in amateur wrestling and in pro wrestling. And man, it's great because now they can showcase their talent. They can make a living. They can headline main event pay-per-views. And you're a second generation wrestler. You grew up with one of the most famous dads. I mean, someone that I grew up, as a Hall of Famer. I was actually at his induction. I was wrestling for WWE at the time as Team Angle when they inducted your dad, Tito Santana, to the Hall of Fame. And it was Shawn Michaels that did the opening speech. And you were probably there. Maybe you were. Were you?
No, I actually have not grown up with him. I actually only found out he was my father a few years ago. So, yeah, I wasn't, I haven't had like the second generation kind of childhood like everyone else had. So I kind of come at it from a different angle. But yeah, super exciting. I've seen the things he's accomplished, which is amazing. And it's a pretty cool thing.
So do you have how's your relationship with him now? You guys, how is it?
It's okay. Well, we don't really have a relationship right now. We've talked a few times, but it's kind of been silent lately. So I'm not really sure how it's going or where it will go, but. Okay.
Well, and does he endorse you using the name Santana? Is he cool with all that or?
I actually haven't had a chance to have a conversation with him since I started wrestling, I guess. So I don't really know. Well,
I'll tell you, when I saw you in the ring, I did not know that was your first match. I really didn't.
Yeah, he did say he wished me luck with wrestling. So he didn't have any ill will towards it. So yeah. But the first time I was in the ring, like I've only been training for 6 months now. So I was super nervous and hopefully it went okay. I don't know.
But, and it's funny because I was talking to D'Lo Brown last night. And D'Lo says that you train at the school that he works with down there because he lives in Las Vegas. And so he says you're doing really well. He was like, so it's a big industry, but it's a small world. And it's, so that's great, and I think Sen Bodai's down there working as well.
That's my trainer that I've been working with. So really.
He's tight with all those, very talented. Always, he used to be Kazarni at WWE, and very tight. He's very tight with Scott D'Amore and Christian and Edge. Have you ever met him, Aaron?
No, I haven't met him. No.
Yeah. We've crossed paths. Actually, when I was in Memphis, and so he's a great instructor, very good. You're in good hands. So yeah, man. So it's funny. I was talking to D'Lo. He had nothing but great things to say about you. And yeah, I mean, when I saw you wrestle, I thought, I knew you were just starting out, but I didn't know that was your first match. And I was like, man, your ring presence, your timing, it was very impressive. And but what I want to get to know is, okay, so, and I'll let Aaron take over from the pro wrestling, but let's start from the beginning, because before you were doing that, you have, like I mentioned, you've been living in Las Vegas. You're from Reading, Pennsylvania originally. Graduated from Reading Catholic High School. Is that correct? Yeah, I mean, I was
Catholic, yeah.
I was raised Catholic as well, and I went to Seton Hall University. But let's see, and you started out at Albright College and finished up at UNLV and Sierra Nevada College. So, are you in education? Are you an education major now? Teaching?
Yeah, I am. So I'm not a teacher, but so I got my undergrad from Albright, and then I got a master's from UNLV, a master's from Sierra Nevada. I currently work for the school district. So it's great. We have a magnet program there, and I'm the magnet coordinator, which is awesome. So, I mean, when I went to high school, there wasn't as many opportunities as there is now. These kids can come and be pilots before they graduate, which is crazy. Some of them have flown airplanes before they've driven cars. So it's super exciting. But yeah.
You see that's great. So that's what my mom's like. Dad were like, if you're gonna be a pro wrestler, just please go to college and have a backup plan. Have that education. And so I was lucky to do that. But yeah, I see a lot of high schools now doing these magnet programs, like for like a trade. They're bringing back mechanics, whether it's for airplanes, for cars, for computers. Starting out in that type of field, halfway through high school. So yeah, it's they didn't have it when I was going through. I know that. So
I mean, the school district out here is so large. There's cosmetology programs, there's dentist programs, we have an EMT program. There's anything a kid wants to do, they have something they can choose in high school, which is
You're right. And with the way the economy's going, I always encourage find a trade that will be residual, something that that the economy can't, that still will need if the economy starts to plummet. You always need a plumber, so let's talk about
trades before they have $1 million in debt for college.
Yeah, you're right. 100%. You're 100% right. And they come out making decent money coming out of with the trade. It's so good. I have a cousin that's a master electrician, and he's just killing it. And because like I said, you always need the trade, no matter how bad the economy is. But let's enough about the economics of the world. Let's get into the HOSPod. We are, people have not are just tuning in. We talk and explore about all aspects of wrestling, and we go from amateur wrestling to grappling to pro wrestling. And you are unique because you have mastered for the last, you've been dabbling or actually practicing the last 7-8 years in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I always find it as an amateur wrestling coach, it's great to get students from that grappling field, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, to come in because they have they have the experience in combative sports. And so how did you get into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? And I mean, you've been doing it for about 7-8 years. I mentioned the tournaments you wrestled in. So let's talk about how you got into it, why, and who your trainer is.
So I have wanted to get into it since I first started watching UFC, and I did karate when I was younger, but it just wasn't kind of the same thing for me. Watching it, I was like, this is awesome. I want to try this Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but coming from Reading, there was not any schools. Yeah. There wasn't anywhere really to learn the art. So when we moved to Vegas, it was just always in my brain, but then my son started taking it and I was like, oh, I really want to take it. But I was so hesitant, I guess being a girl and, out here in Las Vegas, it literally is the fight capital of the world. So the gym he was going to was extreme couture, Randy Couture.
Yeah.
Many amazing fighters that have come out of that gym that are there on a daily basis. It's kind of intimidating, you walk in and there's UFC champ, and then there's someone like me who wants to start jiu-jitsu and everyone's on there going to town. So it was a long process till I actually got the courage to kind of to go on the mat. And then my uncle and I made a pact, and so we started training together. So that kind of helped, having someone to go train with me. And then I started under Fretson Paschal. He's like a 5-time world champion, trained by Osvaldo Alves, and just an amazing, amazing coach. So I've been with him. I had a little break where I was with another coach, Vinny Magalhães, and then after purple belt, I left and went to Fretson Paschal. So now I'm with Fretson as a brown belt. One day as a black belt, hopefully we'll see.
All right. Well, no, that's great. You mentioned Randy Couture, and side note, like, so when I was in high school, I grew up in Edmond, Oklahoma. I would drive up to Stillwater, Oklahoma, and now Randy just got out of the military, and he was wrestling for Oklahoma State University. And at the time, Oklahoma State was on fire. They were what Penn State is now, and John Smith just took over. And so I would drive up from high school, and I would do, it's called private lessons. And I'd have John train me, but I'd get there right before I was a sophomore in high school, and I'd get there right before the university, the college program was getting ready to close, or just before their practice was over. So I would always go in there and wrestle Randy Couture and Chris Barnes, who was a 2-time national champ. And I was like, so I spent about 2 years of my life just getting beat up by Randy and Chris Barnes, who was unbelievable. And that's how those ass whippings made me what I am. I mean, thank God it made me better. But that's the only way you get better, is getting beat up. So basically, or just, learning your craft. And they, once they saw that I kept coming back, they were okay, let's teach you. Let's get you to this level. So Randy Couture. And then I ran into him when he was just starting into the MMA world. He was training under Rico Chiapparelli, called Real American Wrestling. And that was when Dan Henderson, Randy Couture, they were all making the crossover from UFC was just starting, and they were making the crossover from amateur wrestling into UFC. So it was a small world, but yeah, I mean, when you said you walked into his gym, that's great. Is he still present, or is he?
I think he's still present sometimes, not as much. I know, like, he's really busy with like doing movies and stuff. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so let's talk about, so you started off in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, how long does it take for you to move from belt to belt, to level to level?
So it depends on the coach. I know, like, some coaches have different philosophies on it. Some coaches will not give you a belt until you are super good into the next belt and you can hang with them. Some coaches will say, you've proven yourself at this belt, now you're going to get the next belt, and they expect you to start at the bottom of that belt. So it kind of depends. Like, my blue belt I got in, I want to say, like 11 months, and then had my blue belt for a little bit, a few years, I think, and then my purple belt for probably 2 years, I want to say, for lack of better memory, and then brown belt. So I think training consistently, it's about 7 to 10 years to get a black belt on average. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's good, because I remember growing up, I'd see, like, oh, I got taekwondo or karate, and I'm like within like 2 years or a black belt, so I mean, so when you guys, what I love about the sport is that you're able to compete. They have tournaments throughout the world, and they have worlds, so it's very similar to amateur wrestling. How long do they say, okay, I want you to train this long until you can compete on these tournaments? And when you do compete in the tournaments, educate not only me, but the people out there listening. Do they compete at the same level of experience and at the same level of what the belt is? Because in amateur wrestling, I tell my students and parents, I'm like, look, I want to train your kids for a year before I put them into the rookie novice program, because I want them to be successful. I just don't want them to have 2 or 3 lessons and then go out and get twisted, in a pretzel. So is it very similar to that?
Well, I mean, we're the kids, I'm not so sure about. The adults, like, if you want to compete, like, we're all for, like, you competing right as soon as you feel you're ready. Okay. I think it was like 6 months in where I did my first competition. And I think the hairiest, situation is kind of the white belt, because they have so many different levels. They have like novice with no experience, and then novice with experience, and then white belt. And then, like, it's crazy. until you start getting to be like blue belt, where you're more like on the same level. Because like some white belts will come in, like I had 0 wrestling experience, and then I was in a novice one with a girl who came, and it was supposed to be like no wrestling experience, and she was in a singlet, and I'm like, so
Okay.
like probably
Yeah.
she did a wrestling experience. So I think it's easier to, I guess it's called sandbagging, where you're competing at a lower level than you are. And so the white belt, I think, is the easiest one to do that, because they just want to, you know, prove themselves or something. Whereas once you get to blue belt, like you've earned a certain level, so you're kind of all on a certain level.
All right, so does it go white, blue, purple, brown, black? Is that how it is?
Yeah,
okay.
That's
okay. And then go ahead, Aaron.
Thinking about that, you know, you've obviously had some incredible training through your mixed martial arts and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. At what point did the pro wrestling come into your mind, into your thinking, like, hey, I want to do this?
Well, it was not that long ago. So I actually had an interview, and I interviewed with Hannibal, and he was like, have you ever thought about wrestling? Have you tried it? You know? And I was like, no, I've never, you know, tried it, but I'm always up for something new. Like I love doing physical things, learning new skills. And so I was like, sure, I will try this. It'll be great. And I really fell in love with it. Like I really enjoy it. It's really fun. Like I like the performance aspect and the athletic aspect. It's just a good mix coming together for me, I feel. So I really enjoy it.
At this time when Hannibal asked you about that, did you know Tito was your dad at the time?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So did you ever think about, like, would always cross your mind, or I mean, what made you decide to finally take that step and to go out to Sambodai and have him train you?
You know, I don't even know. Like, I guess it was just the timing of it all. Like, when I was younger, like, you know, I had 2 kids. I had them younger, so like that was my main focus. But then I started doing jiu-jitsu, and then that was my main focus. And I'm nowhere near like the top of my jiu-jitsu game where I need to be, but like I'm also at the place where I could probably split that time with something else. And so I thought it was a great opportunity. Like, you want to try it? I'm like, yeah, I'm all for trying new things. So I mean, I thought about it before. I grew up watching wrestling. I grew up with like my brother and my uncles, you know, beating me up all the time. We had like a little wrestling federation in our basement with belts. And so it wasn't totally, you know, foreign to me, but it also wasn't something that I had done on a regular basis.
Did so you grew up in Pennsylvania. Did any of your uncles, do they wrestle amateur? Because Pennsylvania is like Oklahoma. I mean, we got 9 universities that are D1 programs.
Yeah, they didn't. I actually was the first person in my family to go to college. So.
Oh, good for you. Very good. Very good, man. That's awesome. So why Las Vegas? Why the move?
Gosh, so Pennsylvania, like, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it rains, I think, maybe the entire summer almost. Yeah. And then it snows, and it's a hard climate on your body, I think. So being the first person in my family to go to college, you know, there was not as much opportunity out there either. So our whole family decided to pick up and move to Las Vegas, like grandparents, aunts, uncles. We like took our whole family pod and moved it out. So we just did it as a group. Yeah, totally relocated. It was better on, you know, my grandmother's body. She has arthritis. And so coming to Vegas, then she could like stand up straight and walk because there wasn't humidity. And so I was fine. Like I had a degree. I didn't even know what I was going to do yet. So it wasn't really, I could have gone anywhere and, you know, found something, but they started working in the casinos and stuff like that. Really great opportunities out here. Really good job.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's great. And then I was gonna, you know, and Aaron, I don't know if you know this as well, but a lot of the pro wrestlers live in Vegas now. It's like that's where they're all moving to. Moxley's out there, Rey Mysterio's out there, D-Lo, Sambodai, and those are just to name a few. But I mean, that's where everyone's like relocating to tax purposes, but it's just better for your body. Like you said, it's a better training ground. Yeah, and it's pretty central to get to everywhere, direct flights. So,
yeah. And
man,
like you were saying, like when you train with someone who's better than you, like you just grow leaps and bounds. I think it's, you just like, you feel how their body moves, you see what they're doing, and you can like adapt to that and learn so much more quickly than if you're training with someone who's on your own level, I think. But maybe that's just
no, you're 100% right. It's and Aaron, you can attest to this too. Aaron, he has a school as well, but it all depends on, one, your instructor, but two, like the class you're in and people to push you. I know crossing over from amateur to pro, I just took my work ethic and applied it to that, and it was successful. And I'm sure you do. But how's okay, so let's go in the pro wrestling school. So how is the training there? Like what is it? How many days a week? What's it entail? Give us the name of the training facility.
It's FSW, Future Stars of Wrestling, and they have classes all the time. Since I've started, I only did private lessons with Sin though, and usually it was 3 times a week getting ready for this match, and now it's like going to be 2-3 times a week. And I'm going to start taking the classes. But because I was it was crunch time, like I didn't have long to prepare. I only had like 2 months with him or something. And so I was like, I just need to like knock these privates out and get as much knowledge from him as I could. So that was why I did the privates. But they have really great classes from what I've heard. I'm super excited to try them out. There's a bunch of different instructors. So I think getting a lot of knowledge from a lot of people is never a bad thing.
How was it bumping in the ring, like learning, going from Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to this?
So I hate takedowns, and so it was hard doing it. I think like my body's finally starting to adapt, but it's still like it's like hitting a ton of bricks every time. But
it's different. People don't. Yeah, people don't realize exactly. They think pro wrestling fake, and I'm like, it's Aaron. I mean, please add to this. I mean, it's a different animal.
I always compare it and let everybody know you're going to scramble your eggs along the way, and but you are the company you keep, and I encourage everybody to train with people who are better than you. We never stop learning, but I'd rather soar with the eagles than crawl with the cockroaches any day. So we
when I first walked into the very first training I had was at Super Beast compound, and I get in the wrestling ring for the first time, had never been in the wrestling ring, had never felt the wrestling ring. And in my mind, I had created this image like the wrestling ring was like a super soft mattress with a tarp over top. And then, I found out it's like wooden boards with like this tiny mat that isn't even really a mat. And I'm like, what? Like, there's gotta be a smarter way to build this thing to bump better.
When I was a kid, we redid some carpet, and it was a boxing gym, and to me a ring was a ring. But that was the first time, like aside from being in a WWF event, that like there's a ring, I can touch it and get in it. And to anybody that knows now, a boxing ring is not the same thing as a wrestling ring. And I remember I hit the ropes and a big leg drop. Oh, I go, how do they do this? This is like crushed any aspiration I had at 11 years old, thinking how bad this was going to just destroy my body. I thought there's no way. I'll never forget that.
That's why people they wonder why Hulk Hogan, has lower back problems, and why they said he's gone from 6'7" to 6'4", because of all the back surgeries, just dropping a leg. I'm like, when I was in the developmental territory, they bought there was a lot of transition with WCW and ECW being bought, but they sent one of the rings from WrestleMania 2, because they had them in 3 different places at WrestleMania, and we got that sent down to our developmental territory. We set it up, and it was like a boxing ring. It hurt. It was brutal. And that's what like wrestlers like Tito, like your dad and them, they grew up in that, and that's what they were trained in and wrestled live events in. And I mean, now, not that, I mean, it's a flexi beam. It's they have the wood, and they change the wood out once it starts getting warped, and it's a amateur wrestling mat on top of that, tied down with the tarp. I want to say it's a lot better, but it's not much, but it's better than what it was. but I mean, yeah, there was no give back in the day. You know, I trained with Iron Mike Sharp in a boxing ring, and you know, even with the new rings, if they're a low rider, there's still no give. You know, it's difficult. You know, you were talking about at the school. Who else is training there? What other instructors do you have? You know, I'm just curious because I just want to know like their training, the regimen, like, you know, how they go about like the psychology they're teaching.
So I haven't been in any other classes except with Sin, but there is a class on Thursday night, and his name is Cutthroat Cody. I forget his last name. It's Cody something. But I am very much looking forward to taking his class. That is on Thursday. So
cool. Now, do they have a local promotion there that you want, that they'll have you wrestling in to get experience and all that?
Yeah, so they actually, I was at their wrestling show yesterday, and they and then like last month they had all these cage matches, and so it's super exciting. Like fans get really into it. They have really good talent. They have a kids class there, and the girl that was wrestling last night, who holds the women's title with them, she was taking classes there since she was a kid, so that's pretty exciting. There's a lot of great talent there. When I went there with Sin, one of the first persons I got to work with was Matt Vandergriff, and he's on the indie circuits a lot.
Yeah.
He was great. Like, I didn't know him at all, but coming in, like the first thing I did with him, like I felt super safe. Like I knew I wasn't going to get injured. I knew that I was going to learn a lot from him. He's really experienced, given me a lot of help along the way. So it's been really great.
Cool. Very, very good. Yeah, I know, you know, I've always wondered, like Las Vegas is such a, and it has such a, what do you call, a pool of knowledge, like for amateur wrestling. It's a great place to live. You know, a lot of the wrestlers live out there, and I was wondering why. I mean, I'm glad to know that there's a promotion out there. And with hopefully, you know, we'll see that. You know, I know that there's been talks where people are trying to get that promotion or a promotion out there to be where it's on internet TV, kind of like how MLW and AAA and Ring of Honor is. So hopefully we'll see that. I know when I heard that Sin was out there instructing, I was like, you know, I knew you were in good hands, because I mean, he goes back with Engine Christian, really good friends with them. There's another guy, Joe Legend, that trained with them, very good, and you know, Jericho. So, you know, it was Scott Demore. So, yeah, please tell him I said hi. I met him down in Memphis when I was going through developmental. He's great. You're in good hands. Good hands. So, talk to us about your first match. You know, what'd you experience? Right? Was it like, you know, because it was a pretty good crowd. Man, it was. I did not know that was your first match till after. So, please go walk through that with us.
So just walking through in the back, like we had a bunch of different sequences planned. And so in case they came up, and then I guess it kind of maybe went out the window just because of what actually happened in the ring. And so just from start to finish, like starting, I didn't know when I was going to come out, first or second. So just like not being aware of that. And then like hearing the music, and I'm like, oh shit, it's go time, you know? And just not like, please don't let me trip down the stairs and fall. And you know, my family's always like, oh, you're gonna fall into the mat, fall down the stairs. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So trying to psych me out. And I'm like, no, I can do this. I can walk down the stairs. But just coming out, like having that spotlight on you, all those eyes on you, like it was this crazy energy. And, you know, I just kind of thrived off of it. And so, you know, got in the ring how I planned. And then, you know, Erica came out, and sometimes I was sitting there because Sin and I watched it after, and I was just like sitting there, and her entrance was way longer than mine. So like I didn't really know what to do. And I'm like, what do I just hang out until she's done with her song and dance? I don't know. So definitely have to work on that for next time.
I know. I know I was in the same boat as Charlie, though. I had no idea that was your first match. I think a lot of people probably felt that way too. It seemed pretty natural for you, obviously. Whether you realize it or not, it's in the blood. And I'm curious. I know personally, like with your kids, how are the kids accepting a transition into the world of professional wrestling for mom?
Like my daughter is super supportive. My son makes fun of me a lot. Funny story. There's actually a poll up on the fans of World Class, and they're like, "Who are you interested in seeing next time around?" And I think I'm like second to Mick Foley. And so my mom tells my son and my brother that, and they're just like dumbfounded. They're like, "What? Like, did they know that you don't even know wrestling yet?" And so I'm like, they totally make fun of me. So
now, how old is your daughter's 18, correct?
Yeah.
Is she thinking about going into pro wrestling, or is she going to follow the Brazilian jiu-jitsu world?
I've tried to get her to do jiu-jitsu, and she doesn't like the touchy-feeliness of it all. So it didn't work so well, which is sad because she's so strong. She used to be a gymnast, like level 10, getting ready, like the Olympics, but then had a bad injury, almost got paralyzed. So that kind of ended. Then she tried it again, but whiplash and broke her knee, and so that it just wasn't in the cards for her. But she said she's gonna start training wrestling with me, so we'll see.
So you put a gymnast with pro wrestling, it's actually, and then a little glitz and glamour and dramatics. It's a perfect fit. So
yeah,
absolutely. And Jenni, without a shadow of a doubt, you're surrounded by some of the best of the business training, whether it be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, mixed martial arts, or in the world of professional wrestling. I got to know, what kind of goals do you have for both sports, and where do you see yourself at in the next 4 to 5 years with each one?
So I guess Jiu-Jitsu first. Like, I won Nogi Worlds at brown belt, at purple belt. So I mean, obviously my next goal, like the goal when you start, is to be a black belt. Now as it gets closer, where that goal is super not close to reach, but in reach, where it's more realistic than the first day you start, because a lot of people get their blue belt and then never come back on the mat. So getting my black belt would be the first thing, and then winning a major tournament at black, that's the goal for that one. And then to just keep on the mat, because a lot of times, like, I guess it's like your amateur record and then your professional record, like all this stuff you did before you're a black belt kind of washes out. Like no one really cares once you be a black belt. It's just like, what can you do then? So that would be my goal for there, and just to keep training. As far as pro wrestling, just learning as much as I can, soaking it up, getting better. I'm so excited to go back to Texas in January, and just, World Class has been great. And then FSW, they have some shows. As soon as I'm ready, they said I can jump on one of those to get more practice. So just kind of getting more wrestling experience. I do have a day job, so I know a lot of wrestlers, this is their living, and it's easy for them to travel all the time. I don't know the likelihood of that while I'm still working my day job. So just planning appropriately and traveling as much as I can would be great.
Where do you see yourself, say, the next year or two, AEW or World Wrestling Entertainment were to approach you with a full-time gig? What do you see yourself doing in a situation like that?
First, laughing and making sure they're actually from that company. Not kind of.
Let me tell you something. It could very much happen. And I'm going to be honest. They will. I mean, I don't. Besides Charlotte Flair, there's really no other names that they would definitely jump on. Tito being your dad and running with that storyline. I definitely could see that. Couldn't you, Aaron? It's
absolutely. It's a no-brainer. And I'm sure in due time, probably not even due time, it'll surface in your day-to-day life. So I know we all wish you the best. Everybody was highly impressed with your first match, and we wish you nothing more than ultimate success as you move forward in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and professional wrestling. This is our first lady, Charlie. I think this went great.
Dude, I think it went really good. I'm excited to come back and revisit, because I will be on that show as well. It'll be for World Class. It's going to be January 20. Is it the 28th and 29th? 2 shows.
22nd.
Oh, I'm sorry, 22nd and 23rd. Right, 22nd, 23rd. World Class pro wrestling. And do you know who you're going to be wrestling?
I think it's Erica. this same girl that I was with, because we had like a double disqualification for something. I don't even know what was
Aaron, give us a little background on Erica. What's her
that was with Erica, that was the first time I'd seen her as well. And that was my first night with World Class. I look forward to seeing what we have next in another matchup between the two of you. No doubt it's going to be a barn burner. Especially when you were the number 2, everybody wanting to see you back. So they'll get you back. They'll get McFoley back.
They don't want to see me, but that's all right.
They're not supposed to want to see you.
Yeah, I know. I know. Jenni, tell us where we can find you, like on social media, and how they can connect with you, the fans.
So I'm on Facebook, Jennifer Haas, and then my Instagram is Jenni_Santana_, and I have a Twitter that is in the works, but I'm getting better. But it's also Jenni_Santana_.
Okay, very good, very good. Well, man, we want to wish you a very Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and thank you for taking time out of this busy holiday to join us and being the first lady of the Haas whole nation. I think we can give her that crown. So thank you so much, Jenni, and all the best, and we'll see you down the road, and good luck. And I'm glad that you prioritize the jiu-jitsu and the pro wrestling. Make sure to stay on that, man. Just stay well grounded, man, because you see a lot of people they jump all over and then they lose, they just lose touch of what their goals are. So, man, just stay focused, I'm excited to see you grow.
So much for having me. And I mean, if you're ever in Vegas, stop by the school. It'll be great.
I definitely will. All right. Well, thanks, Jenni, and Merry Christmas. And to everybody, this is Charlie Haas, and Merry Christmas to you all and your family. The Haas pod is happy to, close out this year. And, thank you for helping us start off, and we're looking forward to 2022. Merry Christmas to you, Aaron, and Brett McKenzie was not able to make it, so I want to wish him a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And to all the Haas whole nation out there, Merry Christmas.
Absolutely. Thank you all to everybody. And on behalf of Charlie Haas and on behalf of Jenni Santana, thank you for joining us right here on the Haas pod. Merry Christmas. We'll see you next time.